Nestled amidst rolling hills and vineyards, the village of Santa Clara exuded a timeless charm. Life moved at a slower pace here. The scent of baking bread wafted through the air, mingling with the sweet aroma of grapes ripening on the vine. The villagers were a close-knit community, their lives intertwined by generations of shared history. At the heart of this tranquil world stood the village church, its bell tower a comforting landmark. Padre Ignacio, the village priest, was beloved by all. He was a man of deep faith and compassion, his days dedicated to serving his parishioners. With a gentle smile and a kind word for everyone, he moved through the village like a comforting presence. His sermons were renowned for their simplicity and wisdom, offering solace and guidance to the villagers. Padre Ignacio was their shepherd, leading them in the path of righteousness. Padre Ignacio's day began before sunrise. He would rise in the darkness, his heart filled with gratitude. The silence of the early morning was a sacred time for him, a chance to commune with God. His prayers were filled with humility and devotion, seeking guidance and strength for the day ahead. After prayer, Padre Ignacio would tend to his small garden, finding solace in the rhythm of nature. He believed that God's presence could be felt in every leaf and flower. Then, with a heart filled with purpose, he would begin his day's work. He visited the sick, comforted the grieving, and offered guidance to those struggling with life's challenges. Padre Ignacio was a source of strength and comfort to his parishioners, his faith an unwavering beacon in their lives. Padre Ignacio had always been a man of deep faith. His belief in God was unshakable, the foundation upon which his life was built. Yet there was a part of him, a quiet whisper in the depths of his soul, that yearned for something more. He felt a stirring within him, a thirst for deeper understanding. One day, while visiting the village library, Padre Ignacio stumbled upon a dusty, leather-bound volume tucked away in a forgotten corner. The title, La Luz de Al-Andalus, intrigued him. He had always been fascinated by history, particularly the period when Spain was a melting pot of cultures and faiths. With a mix of curiosity and trepidation, Padre Ignacio opened the book, his fingers tracing the faded Arabic script on the title page. Little did he know that this chance encounter would forever change the course of his life. La Luz de Al-Andalus was a collection of essays and poems by Islamic scholars and mystics from the era of Muslim Spain. This period, often referred to as the Golden Age of Al-Andalus, was marked by a flourishing of culture, science, and philosophy. The works compiled in this book were a testament to the intellectual and spiritual richness of that time. As Padre Ignacio delved deeper into the book, he was captivated by the beauty of the language and the depth of wisdom contained within its pages. Each essay and poem seemed to open a new window into a world he had never known, a world where knowledge and faith walked hand in hand. He had always been taught that Islam was a religion of intolerance and violence. These teachings had been ingrained in him since his early days in the seminary, shaping his perceptions and beliefs. Yet here was a different narrative, one of tolerance, intellectual curiosity, and a deep reverence for God. The scholars of Al-Andalus wrote about love, peace, and the pursuit of knowledge, challenging the stereotypes he had held for so long. The teachings of Rumi, Ibn Arabi, and other Sufi mystics resonated deeply with Padre Ignacio. Their words spoke of a universal truth, a divine love that transcended the boundaries of religion and culture. He found parallels between their experiences and the teachings of Christian mystics, like Meister Eckhart and Saint Teresa of Avila. The mystical experiences described by these Sufi poets were strikingly similar to those of the Christian mystics he had studied. The emphasis on love, compassion, and the search for divine unity transcended religious boundaries, speaking to the very core of his being. It was a revelation that brought him a profound sense of peace and understanding. The more he read, the more he realized that his understanding of Islam had been limited, shaped by prejudice and misinformation. This newfound knowledge was not just an academic discovery, it was a spiritual awakening. He began to see the common threads that wove through the fabric of all great religious traditions, threads of love, compassion, and a quest for the divine. The architectural marvels of Al-Andalus, like the Alhambra and the Great Mosque of Cordoba, stood as physical embodiments of this rich cultural and spiritual heritage. They were not just buildings, but symbols of a time when different cultures and religions coexisted and thrived together. Inspired by his readings, Padre Ignacio sought out modern-day scholars and engaged in interfaith dialogues. He visited historical sites, hoping to connect with the spirit of Al-Andalus. These experiences further deepened his appreciation for the shared human quest for meaning and connection. Padre Ignacio began to document his journey, writing in his journal and sharing his newfound insights with his congregation. His teachings evolved, now infused with a message of unity and mutual respect. He encouraged others to look beyond the surface and seek the deeper truths that unite us all. His congregation, once wary of other faiths, began to open their hearts and minds. They started to see the beauty in diversity and the strength in unity. The light of Al-Andalus had not only illuminated Padre Ignacio's path, but had also begun to shine in the hearts of those around him. The discovery of La Luz de Al-Andalus ignited a fire in Padre Ignacio's soul. This ancient manuscript, filled with wisdom and knowledge, was unlike anything he had ever encountered before. It spoke of a time when cultures and religions coexisted in harmony, a beacon of light in a world often shrouded in darkness. He began to seek out more information about Islam, reading everything he could find. His study became a sanctuary of learning, filled with texts on Christianity and Islam, their pages whispering secrets of the past. He delved into the teachings of the Quran, the Hadiths, and the rich history of Islamic scholars. He spent hours in quiet contemplation, wrestling with his newfound knowledge and his faith. The more he learned, the more questions arose, challenging the very foundation of his beliefs. He often found himself gazing out of the window, lost in thought as the sun set and the stars began to twinkle in the night sky. He was torn between his loyalty to the Church and his growing belief that Islam held a piece of the truth he had been seeking. The conflict within him was palpable, a storm raging in his heart. He sought solace in prayer, asking for guidance, but the answers remained elusive. One night, Padre Ignacio had a vivid dream. It was unlike any dream he had ever experienced, so real and intense that it felt like a divine vision. He found himself in a vast desert, the sand stretching endlessly before him. The air was still, and the silence was profound, broken only by the soft whisper of the wind. In the distance, he saw two figures kneeling in prayer, their voices raised in supplication to God. The sight was mesmerizing, a tableau of devotion and faith. As he drew closer, he recognized one figure as Jesus, his face radiant with love and compassion. The serenity and peace that emanated from him were overwhelming, filling Padre Ignacio with a sense of awe. To his astonishment, the other figure was Prophet Muhammad, his eyes closed in prayer, his forehead touching the ground in submission to God. The humility and devotion in his posture were striking, a testament to his unwavering faith. Both prayed to the same God, their voices blending in a harmonious symphony of devotion. It was a powerful and moving sight, a reminder of the shared roots of their faiths. The dream shook Padre Ignacio to his core. He awoke with a start, his heart pounding, the images of the dream etched vividly in his mind. It was as if he had been given a glimpse into a higher truth, a divine revelation that transcended the boundaries of religion. It was a powerful message, a divine revelation that shattered the walls of prejudice he had built around his heart. As the first light of dawn broke, he felt a renewed sense of purpose and hope. He knew that his journey was far from over, but he was no longer alone. The dream had shown him that the path to understanding and unity was possible, and he was determined to follow it, wherever it might lead. The dream was a turning point for Padre Ignacio. It was not just any dream, but one that felt profoundly real, almost like a divine message. In this dream, he found himself walking through a serene garden, where the air was filled with a sense of peace and tranquility. The garden was unlike any he had ever seen, with flowers of every color and birds singing melodies that touched his soul. It confirmed what his heart had already begun to whisper, that Islam was not a foreign faith, but a path that led to the same God he had worshipped all his life. He had always felt a deep connection to the divine, and this dream seemed to bridge the gap between his past and the new spiritual journey he was about to embark on. He realized that the essence of all religions was the same: love, compassion, and surrender to the divine will. This realization brought him immense comfort, as he saw the common threads that wove through the fabric of different faiths. Acts of kindness, selflessness, and a deep sense of community were universal values that transcended religious boundaries. With a heart filled with conviction, Padre Ignacio decided to embrace Islam. It was not a decision made lightly, but one that came after much contemplation and soul-searching. He spent countless hours in prayer, seeking guidance and clarity. The more he prayed, the more he felt a sense of peace and certainty about his decision. He sought out an imam in a neighboring city and formally converted. The journey to the neighboring city was filled with anticipation and a sense of purpose. When he finally met the imam, he felt an immediate connection, as if he had found a long-lost brother. The conversion ceremony was simple, yet profound, marking the beginning of a new chapter in his life. He chose the name Abdullah, meaning servant of God, a name that reflected his deep humility and his desire to submit to the divine will. Adopting this new name was a symbolic act, representing his commitment to his new faith and his willingness to serve God with all his heart. Abdullah's conversion was not a rejection of Christianity, but an affirmation of the universal truths he believed were at the heart of all faiths. He saw his journey as a continuation of his spiritual quest, one that honored his past while embracing his future. He believed that all paths led to the same divine source, and his conversion was a testament to this belief. He still held Jesus in high regard, recognizing him as a prophet of God, but he now understood his role within the broader context of Islamic teachings. This new understanding deepened his respect for Jesus and enriched his spiritual life. He found solace in the teachings of the Quran, which complemented and expanded his previous beliefs. Abdullah's journey was one of unity and harmony, a testament to the power of faith to transcend boundaries and bring people together.